Alright, guys, gals, this is a little bit different of a relationship video that I've been meaning to put out for quite some time. It has been 7 or 8 months since I put out my last relationship video, but I didn't go through 360 hours of relationship life coach training and classes to not try to help you guys in your relationships. Now, I have a lot of videos already about getting your heart broke, and if that person that you dearly love breaks your heart and leaves you or ghosts you, and you can look at those if that's the thing. What I want to talk about now is a marriage or a romantic relationship that you might be in now. Maybe you're having doubts. Maybe you're wondering if you should break things off because you have that gut feeling, hey, it's not going to work out. I want to give you guys some questions to ask yourself. And I want you guys to do this without any kind of disturbances or, anything else going on. And I want you to think about this from like, imagine that you're telling a new friend, like you meet a friend on a long bus ride. Maybe you're taking a long bus ride to meet this person, whatever it might be. Maybe you're just taking a long bus ride on a rainy afternoon to kind of think about things, right? Imagine, if you would, a person that comes up and sits down to you and they kind of tell you about their, maybe they're an older person and they're kind of telling you about their life and their 52-year long marriage and stuff like that. And they're seeing the doubt and the concern in your eyes, and they're asking you, "What's going on, Sonny? What's going on, young lady?" And you end up opening up to this person. And imagine if this person that you're talking to, imagine if they had some lens and they could see into your relationship from a neutral standpoint. So when you ask yourself these questions, look at it from their standpoint and imagine they have a perfect vision, an outside view of your marriage or your relationship. So I'm going to be asking you guys some tough questions, and the questions that I ask you are only going to help you if you're honest with your answers. Maybe write the answers down. It might help you. So the first question I want to ask you, and I want you to think about with this relationship that you're talking about, that you have with someone else, is it's a really important question. Is when you think back to when you first met and you got together and you started dating, there's always a honeymoon phase. So this is kind of the phase where you're both like in bliss and you're like, you can't seem to get enough of each other. You can't seem to know enough about them or want to know, how their day is and what their interests are and what their favorite color is and what their favorite food is, all that good stuff. You want to know everything. It's almost like the too good to be true phase where I wouldn't say that you're just lusting after them, but when everything is almost like at a dream state. And this is the reason that so many people out there go from relationship to relationship to relationship, because as soon as they get bored, they move on to somebody else. And hopefully you're not in that situation. But if you're honest about your and your partner's honeymoon phase, when you first started dating and seeing each other, how long did that last? So write that down. So when you think about how long it lasted, know that the average honeymoon phase for a relationship lasts anywhere from 4 to 6 months. So did your and your partner's relationship, did it have a honeymoon phase that only lasted like a month before you started fighting more and bickering more and kind of got bored more, with things? Where you started having maybe a wandering eye? Where things definitely changed to a more real state? Something that you would expect of other relationships, and bickering and, being annoyed or understanding that they're annoyed with you, or, thinking that you're nagging or whatever. Things become more real once the honeymoon phase ends. So when that started, when the honeymoon phases ended, was it only like a month or two? Or was it much longer than 4 to 6 months? And understand that typically, if your honeymoon phase only lasted a couple weeks or a month, then that's a red flag. And if your honeymoon phase lasted, 10 months, a year, or even longer, that's definitely a green flag. Now, this isn't the end all be all. I have several questions to ask you, but it is something to take note of, right? So, the next question I want to ask you is, when you guys first met and started dating, who would you say fell in love with who first? Who kind of pursued the other person first? Was it you or was it them? And if it was them that you believe really pursued you first and they might have fell in love first, how do you feel now? Do you think you love them as much? Do you think you are into them as much as they were you? Has that all kind of balanced out? Or is somebody still, maybe you're the one that fell in love first? Are they still kind of keeping their distance and not, uniting with you fully? Do you feel like you love them more than they love you? Do you feel like, you pursue them more? And a good way to look at this, guys, would be looking at, guys and gals, would be looking at your text messages, that you might send each other over the phone, especially in like a long distance relationship. If you're constantly sending messages and walls of text and they respond, hours later with maybe just a really quick message back or whatever, and that seems to be the overall look. If this, remember, the stranger that's hearing your story, they have this perfect view of what your relationship looks like. If they were to look at your phone or your messaging application and they saw walls of text from you, or vice versa, they saw walls of text from them and you barely ever respond, that's not exactly a balanced flag, and that's not what I would call a healthy relationship. Now, keep in mind that some people are busier than others, and you also have to consider all of that. But typically, you want some kind of balance in both the communication, whether it be text or whether it be, conversation as well. You don't always want to be the one talking and vice versa. Okay? So take an honest look at that as well. Okay, the third question I have is, once that honeymoon phase ended in your relationship, what was the relationship like at that point? Like, what were your biggest concerns? What are the biggest concerns in your relationship starting at that point? Are there a lot of fighting? Are there, maybe infidelity going on? Is somebody never responding or never communicating well or being honest? What are your biggest concerns with a relationship? And really take a hard, deep look at, what those are. Are these things that you can live with? Are these things that are getting better as time has went on? Or are these things that are getting worse? So I would, definitely recommend writing these things down and, seeing really how you feel about them and how you think this person that has this perfect view of your relationship, what would they think if they knew what was going on in your relationship? My fourth big question for you and your relationship is about your arguments or your disagreements. When you guys fight or disagree, how do those arguments look? Is there lots of doors being slammed? Is there lots of screaming and yelling? Is there a lot of disrespect? Is there any physical, you know, altercations, any kind of slaps or punches or choking or hair pulling or anything like that? Any kind of violence obviously is a huge red flag. Domestic violence is huge and it's something that's pushed under the rug. So if there is any kind of domestic violence or, the fights get physical or whatever, that is such a massive red flag that you probably need to get out. You can do a lot better and you probably deserve, not probably, you do deserve a lot better. But even if there is no physical, fights or anything like that, fights can still be very unhealthy. How do those look? A lot of people will say every relationship has, fights, and I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree that every fight has to include slam doors and yelling and screaming and disrespect. I certainly believe that a healthy relationship, people don't really fight. They're definitely going to disagree about things, but those typically are things that you can talk about and express your concerns and hopefully come to some kind of agreement or conclusion that both of you have input on, both of you respect each other's differences, and you come to some kind of conclusion that will work for you. That's the definition of a argument or a disagreement in a healthy relationship. Definitely screaming and yelling and fighting and physical stuff and everything like that, slam doors, breaking things, that is not a good sign of a healthy relationship. So take a good hard look at that as well, and how your disagreements and arguments look in your relationship. Again, what would this older person that you're telling about your relationship, if they had that perfect vision of what your fights look like, what would they think? All right, guys, my fifth question for your relationship for you to take a good, honest look at is, we talked in the last question about your arguments or disagreements or fights. When you look at those and you look back over the last couple or three fights or over all your fights you've ever had, think overall, do these issues that you fight about, do they tend to get resolved? So I just talked about a healthy relationship will have two people that are willing to communicate well and respect each other's side or opinion or, stance on the whatever you're fighting about or disagreeing about. So what I want to know is, are you continually fighting about the same thing? Are you continually fighting for years about money? Are you continually fighting about somebody's drinking problem, over and over and over again? Are you continually fighting about them being disrespectful? Or are they, continually bringing up fights about you ignoring them? Things like that. Do these issues that you're having disagreements or fights about ever get resolved? Are they getting better? That's also something that you really want to take a look at. Hopefully you're having these conversations or fights or disagreements, and you're coming to some kind of solitude that works for both of you, and these issues are quickly getting resolved as you respect each other's side, concerns, hurt feelings, whatever it might be. My sixth question for your relationship, remember, you're talking to this older person on the train ride as the rain pours outside your window, and they're asking you, and they have this perfect vision. Maybe they're like God or something, they can see clearly everything that, is in your relationship as you talk about it. So even if you're trying to deceive them or whatever, try to look at this from their point of view. All these questions and all your answers, remember, they know the truth. They can see clearly everything that's going on. What would they think, if they knew about all this stuff? So again, that sixth question would be, if you were truly honest with yourself and you imagine that, you met another person that you were sexually attracted to, and you met them tomorrow, and, it was something where you met them while you were working or not around your partner, and they came onto you just in the perfect way and said the perfect thing or the perfect smile, and they complimented you and made you feel really good. My question to you is, honestly, be honest with yourself. How easy would it be for you to cheat on your partner? Would you? Would you not? I mean, if this person looked better, sounded better, made more money, was more attractive, seemed like they had more heart, seemed like they cared more, they had a bigger heart, or were more caring, whatever that is, if that person at least looked better than your partner in some way or another, emotionally, physically, whatever, or both, how easy would you actually cheat on your partner if you had that opportunity? Be honest with yourself. And the reason I ask this question, guys, is because my question number 7 is, are you settling for this person that you're with? Maybe you're married, but maybe you're just in a, relationship or whatever right now. Be honest with yourself and ask yourself, are you settling for who you're with? Or do you truly believe that they are the best person that you could possibly imagine? And you believe that you could go a lifetime and never meet anybody better? So that goes back to the last question. If you would actually cheat with somebody that at least looked better, you know, initially, then you're probably settling with who your partner is. So you should never settle. None of us should ever settle with somebody that isn't somebody that's truly going to make us happy. And you need to go back and look at all these questions and all your answers and be completely honest with yourself, and try to look at every question and every answer that you gave and try to look at your relationship through this older person's eyes that knows everything that's sat down beside you on this bus ride. So hopefully this has helped you guys or helped somebody out there at least get a better clarity on how the relationship looks. And, maybe they're asking themselves if they should leave or break things off or whatever. Hopefully these questions have helped you in some way make a decision that, helps you and your partner in life, because we don't want to be stuck with somebody for, many, many years, or get married to the wrong person and waste 20 years or 30 years of our life with the wrong person. You definitely want to be with the right person that makes you happy, and you definitely want to be able to make somebody else happy and make their life richer and happier and everything like that. You really got to be honest. I know that I was married to the wrong person for much of my life, and I probably could have made somebody else a lot happier, and somebody else, if I had waited for the right person, probably could have made me a lot happier as well. Granted, you can't ever say, well, coulda, woulda, shoulda. You can't change what has been and what happened in your life. You can't go back in time, but hopefully you can make the right choices, in the relationship that you're in with now, and make sure that you don't waste their time and they don't waste your time, and that you're as happy as you can be, and that you're not settling, and you're not, just going on fighting the same fights over and over and over again for hours on end, days on end, months and years on end about the same stuff that you can never agree on. Again, comment down below, guys. Let me know if this video has helped you out. I would love to know. Be sure you rate my video. This is Zaxter99. I hope this has in some way helped you. And if you know somebody that might be in the same situation, be sure you send the link to this video to them, so maybe you can help them, or maybe this video can help them. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.